Good afternoon, everyone. We are the reporters of International Terrorist Group. I am your reporter, Maylin El Bangsalim.
And I am Sarah Pumehi.
I am Rachel Baibo.
And I am Mariel Luma.
So, before we go on to the International Terrorist Group, let me first define what is international terrorism. So, international terrorism, it is an organization that operates across national borders in a form of violence. It aims to inflict harm, fear, and disrupt the society. So, the driving force behind those terrorisms can be either ideological, political, religious beliefs, and they often targets civilians, government officials, infrastructure using their heavy weapons to inflict harm. Okay, so ang una po nating international terrorist group ay ang Al-Qaeda. Founded in 1988, Al-Qaeda meaning the based in Arabic. It is a pan-Islamist militant organization. So kapag sinabi pong pan-Islamist militant organization, isa po siyang political movement na ang advocates nila is to unite all Muslims in a single Islamic state. So, sabi dito, its primary goal is to unite Muslim under a single Islamic state. And it is achieved through a global jihad. So, yung global jihad naman is, ito yung i-expand nila or i-defend nila yung Islamic nila against those they perceive as enemies, which are yung Western countries. Nangunguna na dito ang US. And it is emerged during the Soviet-Afghan War. So, magtungo naman tayo sa leaders. So, the founder and leader of Al-Qaeda is Osama Bin Laden. So, bibigyan ko muna kayo ng maliit na background about kay Osama Bin Laden. So, Osama Bin Laden was born in Saudi Arabia and came from a wealthy family that runs one of the most biggest construction companies in Saudi Arabia or in Middle East. So, pang 17 siya out of 52 na anak ni Mohammed Bin Laden. So, habang nag-aaral si Bin Laden, nakilala niya si Abdullah Azzam. Si Abdullah Azzam ay isang radical pan-Islamist. So, para kay Azzam, kailangan na magsagawa ng jihad o holy war para pag-isahin o para makagawa ng iisang single Islamic state. And nagustuhan ni Osama Bin Laden ang idea na yon. Kaya nung sumiklab ang Soviet-Afghan War noong 1979, nagpunta si Bin Laden and Azzam sa Afghanistan para tulungan ang mga rebelde laban sa mga Soviet Union. So, hindi siya yung pumunta na literal na tumulong na nakipaglaban. Tumulong siya in a way na nag-provide siya ng mga financial needs ng mga rebels since galing naman siya sa mayamang pamilya. So, doon sa laban na yon, nakapag-recruit sila ng mga tao na gustong sumali o willing na nagsasagawa ng jihad din. Bumuo sila ng mga training camps kung saan sila nag-training and doon napagtanto ni Osama Bin Laden na pwede palang magsagawa ng pan-Islamism o ang unity ng mga Muslim sa iisang Islamic state. So, bumalik si Bin Laden sa Saudi Arabia and nanghingi siya ng suporta, ngunit walang sumuporta sa kanya. And then, later that event, sumiklab ang Gulf War kung saan humingi ang Saudi Arabia ng tulong sa Americans. And nung nalaman yun ni Osama Bin Laden, parang mas lalo siyang nagalit sa mga Western countries kasi para sa kanya, ang presensya ng mga Amerikano sa kanyang Holy Land ay parang isang insulto sa kanyang relihiyon. Magtungo naman tayo sa activities nila. Under terrorism, so Al-Qaeda is known for orchestrating and carrying out large-scale terrorist attacks. So, kilala ang Al-Qaeda sa mga malakihang pag-atake and it operates through centralized networks of affiliate and cells. So, nag-ooperate sila through centralized network of affiliates and cells. So, kapag sinabing affiliate, ito yung mga malalaking grupo na may sariling leader and nag-ooperate on their own. So, tapos, yung cells naman, sila naman yung responsible sa pagpaplano ng mga attacks, carrying out attacks, and recruitments. Kaya, so dahil decentralized sila, mahirap targetin yung Al-Qaeda. So, kasi kahit may isang cell or affiliate ang mapatay, kaya pa rin nilang mag-operate. So, magtungo naman tayo sa recruitments. So, the group recruits globally, leveraging ideological propaganda to attract followers, often target individuals who are delusioned, vulnerable, or seeking a sense of purpose and belonging. So, nagre-recruit sila all over the world and ginagamit nila yung ideas nila and beliefs to convince people na sumali sa grupo nila. Especially yung mga tao na who feel lost or unhappy. So, pinaparamdam nila na may sense sila, na may layunin sila sa buhay, kaya sila nakakapag-recruit. Okay, so dumako naman tayo ngayon sa mga notable attacks nila noong panahon ni Osama Bin Laden. So, isa na dito ay ang US embassies noong 1998. So, dito, umatake sila gamit ang 2 truck bombs sa embassy ng Kenya and Tanzania na nakapatay ng halos 224 and 4,500 injured victims. So, dito, parang sinasabi na yung motive nila is to pinaniniwalaang revenge sa pagkakasangkot ng US sa extradition and torture sa 4 na miyembro ng Egyptian Islamic Jihad na naaresto noon sa Albania. Sunod naman is ang USS Cole noong 2000. So dito, ang USS Cole, it is a guided missile destroyer ng US Navy. So noong 2000, itong barkong to is tumigil sa Yemen para mag-refuel. So, dahil matagal ma-set up ang pag-transfer ng fuel, may mga maliliit na ships na umiikot sa barko. And yung ships na yun is may 2 suicide bombers na pumunta sa port side ng destroyer at doon nag-explode na kumitil ng 17 American sailors. So, yung motive nila dito is to pag-attempt nila to attack high-profile US figure. So, ang last is ang pinakakilala or known as the 9/11 attack, and the most famous attack was happened on September 11, 2001. So, dito naman is nang hijack sila ng 4 na eroplano. So, yung 2 eroplano is binangga nila sa World Trade Center noon sa New York. And may mga pumasok din na mga suicide bombers sa building para masiguro na mapatay lahat ng mga tao. Yung isang na-hijack nilang eroplano naman is itinama nila sa Pentagon, which is nag-successful naman sila. And yung isa pang na-hijack nilang airplane is nag-crash sa field ng Pennsylvania, pero dapat yung plane na yon is ibabangga dapat nila sa US capital. So dito, it is known as the deadliest terrorist attack on history na kumitil ng halos 3,000 na katao. And it is according to Brittany.com. So, sa Allied Forces, dumako naman tayo sa Allied Forces, sa Global Coalition. In response to Al-Qaeda's attack, especially 9/11, a global coalition led by United States launched the War on Terror. So, dito na papasok ang tinatawag na War on Terror bilang response sa 9/11 na nagresulta ng pagkamatay ng halos 3,000 na katao. So, ang goal nito is to dismantle yung Al-Qaeda. And pinangunahan to ng US and yung mga key allies niya na UK and the NATO. So, dito, ang isa sa mga operasyon dito is yung pag-alis sa Taliban regime. So, yung Taliban regime, ito yung grupo noon sa Afghanistan na naging safe haven. Naging safe haven ng mga Al-Qaeda noon. Kung saan, dito nakakapag-operate sila ng freely, nakakapag-conduct sila ng training sa Taliban-controlled areas. So, parang, yes, so, ito, yung isa sa mga goal ng War on Terror is para alisin yung Taliban regime na nagbigay suporta noon sa Al-Qaeda. Okay, so back to Osama Bin Laden. After nung September 11, 2001 na attack nila is parang nag-lay low siya, parang nagtago siya kasi doon siya mas nakilala. So, si Osama Bin Laden died on May 2, 2011. So, yung US, nung nalaman nila kung saan nagtatago si Osama Bin Laden, which is may compound siya sa Pakistan. Nag-conduct sila ng operation na tinawag nilang Operation Neptune Spear, kung saan ang ngayon nito is hulihin si Osama Bin Laden, buhay man o patay. So, nung May 2, 2011, may dalawang helicopter na pumunta sa compound ni Osama Bin Laden para hulihin siya. So, yung helicopter na isa is bumagsak sa compound niya. Pero hindi naman yun naging dahilan para mag-fail yung operation nila. Nagawa pa rin nila yung operation ng paghuli kay Osama Bin Laden. So, yung compound ni Osama Bin Laden na yun is may 3 palapag. So, nung napasok nila yung unang palapag, may mga civilians na nandoon. So, nang nakaakyat naman sila sa second floor is may mga ilang armadong nakalaban sila doon, pero at napatay din nila doon yung isa sa mga anak ni Osama Bin Laden. So, parang mas naghinala sila na baka nandoon nga si Bin Laden kasi nandoon yung mga pamilya niya. So, nung na-clear na nila yung second floor, paakyat na sila sa third floor, nakaakyat na sila sa third floor, nakita nila doon si Bin Laden sa bintana na nakadungaw na parang tatalon na or lalabas. So, ayon naman dito is parang may dalawang opinion dito sa pangyayaring ito. Yung isang opinion is sabi nila si Osama Bin Laden daw ay nagtatago sa likod ng mga asawa niya. Parang ginagamit niyang shield yung mga asawa niya para hindi siya mabarel. Pero yung sabi ng isang SEAL Team 6 or yung mga sundalo is nabaril daw niya sa ulo si Bin Laden ng 2 beses. Yung isa namang opinion is sabi, nung pumasok sila, mahina na daw si Bin Laden gawa ng parang mga natamaan or gawa ng sugat. Kaya nung nakita nilang nakahiga si Bin Laden doon is linapitan nila and pinaputukan ulit nila para masigurado. And kasama niya noon yung isang asawa niya. So, and yun yung pinaniwalaan ng lahat kasi yun yung sinuportahan ng mga ibang sundalo na nag-conduct ng operation. So, nung natapos yun, in-announce ni Barack Obama ang pagkamatay ni Osama Bin Laden. And yung mga civilians pala na nakita sa loob ng compound niya is iniwan nila sa labas. Kasi iniwan nila sa labas para makita ng mga Pakistan official. So, ang isa pang problema nila noon sa bangkay ni Osama Bin Laden is kung saan nila ito ililibing kasi walang sementeryong gustong tumanggap sa bangkay ni Osama Bin Laden dahil natatakot sila na baka magkaroon ng gulo. So, napagpasya ng US na dalhin na ang bangkay ni Osama Bin Laden sa karagatan ng Saudi Arabia kung saan siya pinanganak. So, dun sa karagatan, doon nila siya inilibing sa ilalim ng karagatan. So, ang sumunod sa kanya ay ang successor niya na si Ayman al-Zawahiri. So, Ayman al-Zawahiri was born on June 19, 1951 in Egypt and studied medicine. So, he was eye surgeon. So, si Ayman al-Zawahiri ay pumalit sa pwesto ni Osama Bin Laden after niyang mamatay 2 months ago. So, during his leadership, ang Al-Qaeda ay nag-face into multiple challenges. Isa na dito ay ang pagkawala ng safe haven nila sa Afghanistan, which is yung Taliban na tinarget ng war on terror noon. So, ang isa pa dito ay nag-shift yung focus ng Al-Qaeda from malakihang pag-atake noon. So, hanggang sa mapunta sa solong pag-atake or sa mga maliliit na pag-atake na lang kasi nag-lay low sila. And isa pang naging threat sa pamumuno ni Ayman al-Zawahiri ay ang paglitaw ng grupong ISIS. So, itong ISIS na to is nagdulot ng malaking hamon sa Al-Qaeda kasi yung ISIS is mas agresibo and mas brutal na grupo. Dito is nung dumating yung ISIS, ang ilan sa mga leaders or taga-suporta ng Al-Qaeda ay parang nakuha yung ng mga ISIS, yung loob nila. Kaya nung panahon ni Ayman al-Zawahiri ay parang mas humina, and then siya ay namatay sa US drone strike that targeted his safe house in Afghanistan. So nung administration ni Biden, namatay siya sa drone strike. And sumunod sa kanya is si Saif al-Adel, the current de facto leader of Al-Qaeda after the death of Ayman in 2022. So, kapag sinaming de facto leader, it means in reality or someone who holds power, ngunit walang opisyal na pagkilala or pagkilanlan. So, during his leadership, siya naman is mas nag-focus siya on rebuilding and mas palakasin yung Al-Qaeda. So, isa na dito is yung pagre-recruit ng mga new members, establishing new camps and developing new strategies. So, Saif al-Adel is also believed to be more cautious and more pragmatic than Ayman. So, mas kilala siya bilang mas cautious na leader. So, magtungo naman tayo sa ikalawang reporter ng ikalawang international terrorist groups, which is Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, or yung AQIM.
Second international terrorist group, we have Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, or AQIM, or AQIM. Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, or AQIM, is a regional branch of Al-Qaeda operating primarily in North Africa. So, ang Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, or AQIM, ay isang grupo ng mga terorismo na isang branch ng Al-Qaeda na nagsasagawa ng mga operasyon tulad ng terrorism, bombings, and kidnapping sa North Africa. Sila ay marahas na maraming tao ang naging biktima ng kanilang mga pag-atake at maraming iba pa ang nawalan ng mga mahal sa buhay. Next is the formation of AQIM, kung paano nga ba nagsimula ang AQIM at kung kailan ito nagsimula. So, nagsimula ang AQIM sa Algeria dahil sa civil war noong 1990s. When we say civil war, this is a war between citizens in the same country. Nagsimula ang digmahan ng kanselahin ng Algerian government ang second election sa takot na manalo ang Islamic Salvation Front, or FIS. Ang Islamic Salvation Front ay isang party list na may layuning magkaroon ng Islamic State. Dahil sa pagkansela ng Algerian government sa second election, nagalit ang Islamic Salvation Front, or FIS, at iba pang mga grupo na may layunin ding magkaroon ng Islamic State. Kaya nag-organize sila ng isang organization which is Armed Islamic Group, or GIA, noong 1992. Pero noong 1998 ay naghiwalay ang ilang members at nagtatag ng Salafist Group for Preaching and Combat, or GSPC, noong 1998. Dahil sa masyadong over na yung ginagawa ng Armed Islamic Group, ay naghiwalay ang ilang members. Yung gusto nila ay yung government lang yung kumbaga, ayaw nila nadadamay ang mga civilians. Ganon. So, after ng pagtatag ng Salafist Group for Preaching and Combat noong 1998, ay noong 2007 nakipag-alyansa ang Salafist Group for Preaching and Combat or GSPC sa Al-Qaeda at nagpalit ng pangalan which is AKIM. So 2007 nagsimula ang pangalang AKIM. Dahil sa pakikipag-alyansa ng AKIM sa Al-Qaeda ay naging mas malakas ang AKIM at nakatanggap sila ng mga support, mga funds sa pagpapalawak sa operation nila. Then dahil sa pakikipag-alyansa sa Al-Qaeda, naging famous ang organisasyong AKIM, kaya maraming members ang nakikijoin, and dahil sa pakikipag-alyansa ay nagkaroon sila ng mga funds sa mga operation nila, and they have the access to the Al-Qaeda's training center para doon maging malakas ang mga tauhan nila. Next is the geographical focus, ang mga lugar kung saan nakafocus ang AKIM. So, ang mga lugar kung saan sila nakafocus ay ang Maghreb, sa Morocco, Algeria, sa Tunisia, and Libya. Makikita natin sa map. Next is the objective. Ano nga ba ang goal ng AKIM? So, AKIM seeks to establish an Islamic state in North Africa governed by Sharia law. Its goals align with Al-Qaeda's broader objectives but are focused on regional issues and conflict. So, AKIM wants to establish an Islamic state in North Africa wherein ang pamumuno ay nakabase or ang gamit ay Sharia law, ang batas ng Islam. Ang layunin ng AKIM ay pareho lang sa Al-Qaeda. Pero, ang AKIM ay mas nakatuon sa region, nakatuon lang sa isang lugar, while yung Al-Qaeda is globally siya. Next, beliefs. Kung ano nga ba ang paniniwala ng AKIM? AKIM shares Al-Qaeda's radical Salafi jihadist ideology advocating for jihad against Western influence and secular governments in the region. It also emphasizes local grievances, particularly against the Algerian government. Ang AKIM ay sumasang-ayon sa paniniwala ng Al-Qaeda na ang nais ay palaganapin ang Islam sa buong mundo. So, ang AKIM ay ayaw nila sa mga Western influence, kumbaga, ayaw nilang napapalitan yung mga traditions ng Islam. Ayaw nila ng changes, ganon. So, gusto nilang labanan yung mga Western countries, and pati na din yung Algerian government, kasi nagiging isang hadlang sila sa layunin nilang magkaroon ng Islamic State. Next, we have the activities of AKIM. So we have 3, which is terrorism, kidnapping for ransom, and insurgency. Terrorism. AKIM is involved in various terrorist activities including bombings, assassinations, and kidnappings. It has targeted both local and foreign entities. So, ang AKIM ay gumagamit sila ng pagbamba, pagpatay at pagdukot upang takutin ang mga tao at makuha or matupad ang layunin nila. Hindi lang sa ibang bansa sila nagsasagawa ng mga terrorism, but doon din sa kanilang sariling bansa. Next is kidnapping for ransom. The group has been notorious for kidnapping Westerners for ransom using funds to support its operations. So they are also famous for kidnapping foreigners para manguha sila ng ransom para may funding nila sa mga operation na gagawin nila, sa mga armas na bibilhin, sa mga kailangan nila sa mga operation nila. Next is insurgency. AKIM participates in insurgent activities including attacks and in military and governmental targets. So when we say insurgency is to rebel to the government. So ang ginagawa nila ay dahil nga sa gusto nilang i-overthrow ang government ay nagsasagawa sila ng mga pag-atake sa mga governments. Next, some attacks of Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb or AKIM. 2007 Algiers attacks. AKIM claimed responsibility for bombings in Algiers that killed 33 people. Noong December 11, 2007, ang AKIM ay umatake sa UN offices and Algeria's Constitutional Court with car bombs na pumatay ng 33 people. Next, 2013 in Amenas hostage crisis. AKIM-affiliated militants took over a gas facility in Algeria, resulting in a standoff with Algerian forces and the deaths of 39 foreign hostages. So, itong grupo na to na ka-affiliate ng AKIM ay tinatawag silang Al-Mulathamun Battalion na pinamumunuan ni Mokhtar Belmokhtar or kilala rin sa tawag na Mr. Marlboro dahil sa kasaysayan niya sa pagpuslit ng cigarettes. And dito sa naganap na pag-atake sa gas facility sa Algeria ay hinostage nila ang 37 na foreigners pero namatay ang mga ito during the rescue attempt by Algerian forces. 2016 Ouagadougou attack. AKIM carried out an attack on a restaurant and hotel in Burkina Faso's capital, Ouagadougou, killing 30 people. On January 15, 2016, umatake na naman ang AKIM sa isang hotel and restaurant na pumatay ng 30 people and nang hostage sila ng 100 na mga tao. Then later on, security forces freed the hostages. So I have included recent attacks that is attributed to AKIM. We have on 26 April 2019, a Tunisian army soldier was killed and 3 were injured in an improvised explosive device or IED attack in Chambi Mountains National Park, northwestern Tunisia. So, itong IED ay kumbaga parang gagawa sila ng isang bomba from materials na kung saan ipupunta lang nila sa kung saan nila gustong sumabog ay sasabog na. Next, on June 20, 2020, militants ambushed an Algerian army detachment in Ain Defla, northern Algeria, killing one soldier. On June 27, 2020, two Algerian army personnel were killed by an improvised explosive device or IED in Ain Defla, northern Algeria. Next, we have here the Allied forces na tumutulong sa pag-counter-terrorism sa Akim. Local governments. Akim has been the target of counter-terrorism efforts by regional governments in North Africa. Countries like Algeria, Tunisia, and Mali have launched military operations against Akim. So, because of the activities that Akim is doing, ay meron ng mga counter-terrorist na or military operations na isinigawa ng mga Algeria, Tunisia, and Mali para pigilan ang mga ito. Next, international support. Akim's activities have also prompted support for regional counterterrorism efforts from international actors including France and the US, particularly in the Sahel region. So, dahil din sa activities ng Akim ay there are also international actors like France and the US na tumutulong sa pag-counter-terrorist sa kanila, particularly in the Sahel region. Example of international support is the joint French-Mauritanian raid in July 2010 against an Akim camp resulted in the death of some Akim members and possibly disrupted some Akim activities. So, dumako naman tayo sa mga naging leaders ng Akim. Number 1 is Djamel Zitoni or Jamel Zitoni. Born on January 5, 1964 and died on July 16, 1996. He is the leader of GIA or Armed Islamic Group in 1994. He was killed by rogue Islamists or rival din nila at the town of Tamesgida. Some attacks under his leadership are bombings in France on 2005 and Air France Flight 8969 was hijacked in December 1994. Dito sa Air France Flight 8969 ay ang nangyari dito ay inagaw ng 4 na terorista ng GIA ang isang eroplano sa tarmac sa Algiers Houari Boumediene Airport at hindi nagtagal ay natuklasan ng France government ang kanilang intensyon na lumipad patungong Paris at ibagsak ito sa Eiffel Tower o sa Montparnasse Tower. Matapos mapatay ng 4 na terorista ang ilang pasahero sa Algiers ay hinayaan na ng government ng Algiers na lumipad ang eroplano patungong France. Lumapag ito sa Marseille para daw mag-refuel pero dito lumusob ang GIGN, ang counter-terrorist unit ng French police at pinatay nila ang 4 na terrorist at pinalaya ang mga pasahero. This is according to Financial Times, that organization. Next leader is Hassan Hattab. He was born on January 14, 1967. he is the founder and leader of GSPC. So, siya ang nagtatag sa GSPC. On 2003, he was deposed for advocating negotiations with the government. So, noong 2003 ay pinatalsik siya sa pwesto dahil sa pakikipag-negotiate niya sa government ng Algeria. On 2007, he was excluded entirely from GSPC. So, noong 2005 ay talagang pinaalis na siya sa GSPC. On 2007, he surrendered and was jailed by the government. So, dito ay walang impormasyon kung namatay ba siya or buhay pa siya ngayon. Next is Abdelmalek Drogdel. He was born on January 20, 1970 and died on June 3, 2020. He became the leader of GSPC in 2004. So, according to BBC News, he was killed during a French special operation during the Battle of Talahandak, in Mali. So, napatay siya nung special operation ng French sa Mali. So, some attacks under his leadership are December 11, 2007, attacks against the UN offices and the Constitutional Court buildings in Algiers. So, ito yung meron sa una na some attacks of Akim. Next is August 2008, 3 suicide attacks that killed many civilians in the regions of Bomardes, Boira, and Tizi Ouzou, Algeria. Next leader, and the last leader is Abu Ubaidah Yusuf al-Annabi. He was born on February 7, 1969, and he took over after Drogdel died in 2020. So, wala siyang masyadong information, siguro dahil bago siya. Pero si Abu Ubaidah Yusuf al-Annabi ay isang membro, nagsimula siya ng membro sa Akim noong, hindi pa Akim ang pangalan, noong ito pa lang ay GIA or Armed Islamic Group. Akim remains active and continues to pose a significant security threat in the Maghreb, adapting its tactics and strategies in response to counterterrorism efforts. So until now, Akim is active, though hindi siya masyadong naibabalita, but they are doing their activities secretly and posing threats in the Maghreb region. Ang ginagawa nila para hindi sila madaling mahuli is nagpapalit sila ng place, nagpapalit sila ng mga tactics and strategies kung paano, ano ang response nila sa mga counter-terrorism ng ibang bansa.
So, the number 3 is the Boko Haram. So, Boko Haram is a militant Islamist group based on northeastern Nigeria. So, the word Boko means forbidden, and the Haram means fake or Western education. So, Boko Haram was founded in 2002 by Mohammed Yusuf in Maiduguri, Nigeria. So, the group initially focused on opposing Western education and influence, but later evolved into a violent insurgency. So this group, Boko Haram, was founded by Mohammed Yusuf in 2002. So Mohammed Yusuf was the first leader of this group, Boko Haram. So this group, Boko Haram, was initially focused on opposing Western education in Nigeria. So ayaw nila ng Western education, or sumasalungat sila sa Western education. The group's name, which translates to Western education is forbidden, reflects its initial focus on opposing Western-style education and secularism. So, yung pangalan ng grupo nila, which is Boko Haram, it translates into Western education is forbidden. So, from the word forbidden, ayaw nila ng Western education doon sa lugar nila. And it's reflects its initial focus on opposing Western-style education. So, yung focus talaga nila is oppose sila sa Western education. Kasi ayaw nila ng ma-westernize yung lugar nila, and kaya mostly ng tina-target nila is schools, teachers, and students. So the next is the goals and objectives. So Boko Haram aims to establish an Islamic state governed by Sharia law in Nigeria, and by extension in parts of neighboring countries. It seeks to replace Nigeria's secular government. So yung goal ng grupo na to is to establish an Islamic state governed by Sharia law. And for your information, most of northern Nigeria is governed by Sharia law, while the rest of the country is governed by secular law. So, gusto nilang palitan yung secular law into Sharia law, and sila yung mamuno with a strict Islamic regime. We may now proceed to the beliefs. So, Boko Haram adheres to a radical interpretation of Sunni Islam. It opposes Western influence and secularism, and promotes a return to what it considers a purer form of Islam. So, the word Sunni comes from the word Shuna, which refers to the techniques, practices, and examples set by the Prophet Muhammad. So, the activities of this group is terrorism. Boko Haram is known for a range of terrorist activities, including bombings, shootings, and kidnappings. It has targeted civilians, military personnel, and government officials. Another is insurgency. The group has engaged in an insurgency against the Nigerian government, leading to widespread violence and displacement in the affected regions. So, number 3 is kidnappings. Boko Haram is infamous for abducting schoolgirls, such as the 2014 Chibok kidnapping, where I am going to discuss later, which brought international attention to the group's activities. So, ito yung mga activities nila na lagi nilang ginagawa in Nigeria. So, some attacks of the group Boko Haram is Chibok kidnapping in 2014. So, Boko Haram abducted 276 schoolgirls from a government secondary school in Chibok, Boro State. So, many remain missing or were forced to marry the militants. So, this group, Boko Haram, kidnapped 276 schoolgirls kasi pinapunish nila ito for daring to seek education. So, the reason why the group Boko Haram kidnapped these 276 schoolgirls is they are daring to seek education, which is ayaw ng grupo na to na Boko Haram na yung Western education kasi opposed sila into Western education. Kaya nga mostly na tinatarget na nila is schools, students. Kaya yun, they kidnap these 276 schoolgirls. And yung iba is hindi pa nahahanap and missing pa. And yung iba naman is they are forced to marry these militants. So, pinilit silang pakasalan tong ibang members ng grupo na to. So, the other attacks of this group, Boko Haram, is the Bunyadi attack in 2014. So, the group attacked a school in Bunyadi, killing at least 59 students. So, in February 25, 2014, 59 boys were killed at the Federal College of Bunyadi in Yobe State, Nigeria. So, the 24 buildings of the school were also burned down as a result of the attack. So, this group is pumunta sila sa sumalakay sila sa school na to, then pinatay yung 59 students na ito. So, and they also burned the 24 buildings. So, kaya nga yung sinabi ko kanina na mostly talaga is target nila is schools and students kasi opposed sila into Western education. Another attack is the Maiduguri bombings in 2015. So, multiple bombings in Maiduguri resulted in significant casualties. So, itong pagbomba nila is maraming nasawi at maraming nadamay. So, here are the notable attacks of Boko Haram. So, Boko Haram attack on northeast Nigerian village leaves dozens dead. So, the extremist group launched an insurgency in northeastern Nigeria in 2009. So, in an effort to establish the radical interpretation of Islamic law or Sharia law in the region. So, at least 35,000 people have been killed. So, 35 na people is pinatay ng grupo na to in 2009 kasi gusto nilang i-establish yung Sharia law or Islamic law sa lugar na yon. Gusto nilang ipaalam or ipahiwatig sa mga tao itong Sharia law. So, another is on February 27, 2018. So, Boko Haram has attacked another school on northeast, taking 110 students and teachers. So, kasi nga, yung tinatarget nga ng grupo na to is mostly schools and teachers and students. Kaya, umatake yung grupo na to kasi ayaw nila na magkaroon ng Western education sa lugar na yon in Nigeria. So, opposed na sila sa Western style education. So, recently, at least 80 people have been died and several are missing after an attack by suspected Boko Haram jihadists in Nigeria's northeastern Yobe State. So, around 150 suspected jihadists on motorcycles reportedly opened fire on Yobe on Sunday. So, recently lang ito, no? Nung September 3, 2024. So, 80 people have been died and others were missing. So, until now is makikita natin na active pa rin itong Boko Haram. So, marami pa rin silang pinapatay, marami pa rin silang yung activities nila is ginagawa pa rin nila until now. So, we'll proceed to the allied forces. So, local and international response. The Nigerian government has launched military operations against this group, Boko Haram. So, often with support from regional allies like Chad, Cameroon, and Niger. the US and the European Union and other international entities provided support in various forms, including intelligence, sharing, and training. So, as we can see, no, na gumagawa ng paraan itong Nigerian government to launch military operations laban sa grupo na tong Boko Haram. So, sumusuporta din itong regional allies like Chad, Cameroon, and Niger. Ito yung mga malapit lang doon sa northeast Nigeria. Even the US and European Union have provided support against this group Boko Haram. So here are the leaders of this group Boko Haram. So first is Mohammed Yusuf, also known as Ustaz Mohammed Yusuf, the first leader and the founder of this group Boko Haram. Yusuf was killed by the police in 2009, which led to the group's shift to more violent tactics. So namatay si Yusuf in 2009, killed by the police. And yung pagkamatay niya led to the group's shift to more violent tactics. So he was born on January 29, 1970 and died on July 30, 2009. So years of service, 2002 to 2009. Battles and wars. He led the Boko Haram insurgency or Boko Haram uprising. Itong Boko Haram insurgency is conflict between Boko Haram, a militant Islamist group, and the Nigerian security forces. So dito siya, yung battle na to is dito siya namatay. Yun. Next leader is Abubakar Shikayu. Following Yusuf's death, Shikayu became the leader. He was known for his aggressive leadership and brutal tactics until his death in 2021. So after namatay si Mohammed Yusuf, is sumunod na namuno is si Abubakar Shikayu. He led the Chibok kidnapping in 2014, the Buniyadi attack in 2014, and the Maiduguri bombings in 2015. So he was born between 1965 and 1975. So he was died in May 19, 2021. So yung cause ng pagkamatay na is suicide. He killed himself on May 19, 2021 by donating a suicide vest during the Battle of Sambisa Forest between Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa Province or ISWAP. So years of service is 2002 to 2021. So medyo matagal-tagal na rin yung 19 years na pamumuno niya. So number 3 is Abu Umaymata. So in May 2022, Boko Haram declared an obscure individual called Abu Umaymata its new overall leader. So siya po yung current leader of this group since 2022 up until now. So he was born on Nigeria and wala pong specific na date yung nakalagay, and even his picture is wala po akong mahanap. And battles and wars, Boko Haram insurgency.
Laskar-e-Taiba. Laskar-e-Taiba was founded in early 1990s by Hasif Said and Sakar Iqbal in Pakistan. The name translates to Army of the Pure, reflecting its goal of establishing an Islamic State in South Asia. Objective: LET aims to establish an Islamic State in South Asia and to fight against Indian rule in the region. It supports jihadist activities with a focus on anti-India and anti-Western objectives. Ideology. Beliefs. Lashkar-e-Taiba follows a radical interpretation of Sunni Islam with a focus on jihad as a means to achieve its political and religious goals. It promotes the idea of global Islamic caliphate and views non-Muslim and secular governments as enemies of Islam. So, Islamic caliphate is abolished in 1924. An Islamic form of government in which political and religious leadership is united, and the head of the state, the caliphate, is the successor to the Prophet Muhammad. And Sunni Islam, they believe that there is no God but God, and that Muhammad is the messenger of God. So let's proceed to the activities of LET. Number 1 is terrorism, the use of violence in order to achieve political aims or to force a government to do something. Insurgency, movements to overthrow government. One of the notable attacks of LET is 2008 Mumbai attack, the most notorious attack carried out by the LET on November 26 to 29, 2008. The attack carried out 12 coordinate shootings and bombing attacks lasting 4 days across Mumbai. It killed 174 people and injuring over 300. Number 2 is 2006 Mumbai train bombings. On 11th of July, over 200 people lost their lives and more than 700 people were injured after a series of bomb attacks struck Mumbai city trains. The series of bomb attacks took over a period of 11 minutes in different locations of Mumbai local trains. So they put the bomb in the first class kasi doon pumupunta yung mga officials, like let's just say government officials. So number 3 is 2000 Red Fort attack. On December 22, 2000, a terrorist attack took place on the Red Fort in Delhi, India. It was carried out by the Pakistani terrorist group Lashkar-e-Taiba. It killed 2 soldiers and 1 civilian. So number 4, insurgency in Jammu and Kashmir is an ongoing separatist militant insurgency against the Indian administration in Jammu and Kashmir, 2005. In 2005 Delhi bombings, 29th of October 2005 in Delhi, India, killing 62 people and injuring at least 21 others in 3 explosions. So they ay nagpabomba sila doon kasi gusto nilang ma-overthrow yung government in Delhi, India. So the leader is Hafiz Muhammad Said, born on June 5, 1948 and currently 76 years old, the founder and leader of Lashkar-e-Taiba. So nasa custody siya ng government of Pakistan, serving 78 years imprisonment sentence since February 12, 2020 as a result of conviction in 7 terror financing cases. So buhay pa si Muhammad Said. Zaki ur Rahman Lakvi, another senior leader of LET, born on December 30, 1960 in the Okara district of Punjab, Pakistan. One of the prime perpetrators of the 2008 Mumbai attacks on January 21, He was arrested by Pakistani authorities and sentenced to 3 concurrent 5-year sentence in jail. So, siya naman ay nandun sa kulungan din at naaresto siya noong January.
So, ang number 5 ng international terrorist group ay ang Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS. ISIS is also known as Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, and a radical Islamist militant group. Basis: Islamists emerged from remnants of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, AQI, which active during the Iraq War. It was formally established as ISIS in 2013 when it split from Al-Qaeda and declared itself a caliphate in 2014. So, kapag sinabi nating remnants ay ito yung small groups na galing sa Al-Qaeda or the base. At ang caliphate naman ay ito ang sariling pamahalaan ng mga Muslim. The group name referred to as ISIL, Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, or Daesh, an Arabic acronym. Ito namang the Levant ay ito yung mga galing sa East. Goal: ISIS aims to establish a global Islamic caliphate government by a strict interpretation of Sharia law. It seeks to expand its control over territories and establish its version of a Islamic state. Ang Sharia law ay ito yung kung ano ang kinuha mo, ayon din ang kukunin sa'yo. For example is, kapag buhay ang kinuha mo, ay buhay din ang kapalit. At ang paniniwala naman nila ay, ISIS adheres to radical interpretation of Sunni Islam and believes in the establishment of a caliphate through jihad. Its ideology includes extreme sectarianism, anti-Western sentiment, and a rejection of other forms of Islam and secular governments. Itong extreme sectarianism ay ang pagiging loyal sa kanilang relihiyon o sekta na kanilang pinapaniwalaan. At ito ang kanilang mga activities. Terrorism. ISIS is known for its brutal and high-profile terrorist attack, including bombings, shootings, and beheadings. So, ang kanilang target ay ang mga civilians, yung mga governments, at mga militant. Insurgency and governance. ISIS controlled large territories in Iraq and Syria, implementing its own governance structure. Propaganda. ISIS has used sophisticated propaganda techniques, including social media, to recruit members, incite violence, and spread its ideology. At ito ang mga kanilang attacks. Paris attacks 2015. Coordinated attacks in Paris, including bombings and shootings, resulting in the death of 130 people and injured hundreds more. Brussels attacks 2016. Bombings at the Brussels airport and metro station killed 30 people and injured many others. Orlando shooting 2016. An attack on a nightclub in Orlando, Florida resulted in 49 deaths and numerous injuries. Notable attacks. January 20, 2022, Hasaka, Syria. ISIS attacks Guardian Prison also known as Prefs Hasaka, leading to a week-long siege on the facility and surrounding neighborhoods, killing more than 100 prison guards and 400 ISIS detainees. January 16, 2019, Manbij, Syria, ISIS conduct a suicide bombing outside a restaurant, killing 15 people, including 4 Americans. Allied forces, international coalition in response to ISIS rise and territorial gains, a global coalition was formed, led by the United States, and including countries like UK and France and others. This coalition conducted airstrikes, provided support to local force, and engaged in ground operation. Local forces. Significant efforts were made by Iraqi and Syrian, Kurdish forces, as well as other local militias to combat ISIS and reclaim territory. And here are the leaders. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the founder and the leader of ISIS. Al-Baghdadi declared the establishment of the caliphate in 2014. He was killed in a U.S. raid in 2019. He was born on July 28, 1971 and died on October 27, 2019 in the age of 48 years. Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qurashi. After Baghdadi's death, al-Qurashi became the leader. He was killed in a U.S. raid in 2022, and he was born on October 1, 1976 and died on February 3, 2022. Current leader, Abu Hafs al-Qurashi, was named in August 23. The Islamic State continues to wage low-level insurgency across Syria and Iraq. As of early 2024, United Nations sanction monitors reported that ISIS was effectively suppressed in Iraq and Syria, but remain as a threat. And this is all, and thank you for listening.